Tracking alcohol while you're tracking your macronutrients is something that absolutely can be done. Alcohol itself is a toxin, so it should be consumed in moderation and somewhat avoided if you have specific health goals, whether it's labs you're trying to get within normal range, or fat loss that you want to happen, or muscle building that you're really, really working hard for. Alcohol is only going to throw a wrench into that system. However, that doesn't mean that you have to completely avoid it. There is just one caveat. Because alcohol itself has its own set of calories, we can't track it as a protein, carb, or fat. So if you, for example, think about a White Claw and you look at the can and it says there's 100 calories, but there's no protein, there's no fat, there's only 2 grams of carbs. So from what we know from our macronutrient video, there are 4 calories in 1 gram of carb. So that means there are only 8 calories in 2 grams of carbs. So where do the rest of the calories come from? How are there 100 calories in that when there's only 2 grams of carbs? Because the rest of those calories are from alcohol. When you're tracking macros, you obviously don't have an alcohol goal. You don't have a grams of alcohol that you can track to keep track of those calories that you're consuming. So the easiest thing to do is just take the total calories of whatever drink you're consuming and convert them into a way that you can count them. Not calories, but proteins, carbs, or fats. Proteins we never really want to take away from. Your protein should always be consumed from food. Carbs and fats, you can use either of those to count your alcohol for the day. Typically, eating lower fat is more difficult, not for everybody, but a lot of people who work with us have more carbs to work with. So we typically recommend tracking their alcohol as a carbohydrate. And really all that means is remembering that because per 1 gram of carbs, you get 4 calories. We're just trying to figure out how to take the total amount of calories from that drink that you're having and count it as carbohydrates. So you divide it by 4. You take that math that we know about carbohydrates and calories to figure out how many carbs to track for that total drink. So if we go back to that White Claw, don't worry about what the label says for protein, carbs, and fats. You're going to just look at the total calories of that one can, which is 100 in this example. You divide it by 4 and you get 25. So 25 grams of carbs is going to account for all of the calories in that can, alcohol included, because we've made that the carbohydrate. The can says 2, but we're going to track 25 grams instead because we have to account for those alcohol calories as well. So if you're going to track any alcohol you're consuming as a carbohydrate, all you have to do is take the total calories and divide it by 4. That's the grams of carbs that you track. If you need help figuring out the total calories in your drink, you can throw that drink into your app just to find the calories. You can also Google it. You can also look at labels. When it comes to alcohol again and hitting your goals, it's really, really important to remember the repercussions that come with alcohol consumption. Excessive alcohol consumption can lower your testosterone, that's a hormone. It gets in the way of fat oxidation and muscle building. In more of a short-term situation, alcohol can really affect your digestion, which is not a fun thing to deal with, and sometimes can have lasting effects for days after drinking. Alcohol also affects your mood, specifically during hangovers or the day after the time that you have been drinking. So if you are already dealing with anxiety or mood changes or depression, alcohol is only making that worse. So just consume in moderation and make sure that if you're tracking macros, you are accounting for the alcohol calories, whether it's in protein, carbs, or fats. We recommend carbs.